In the world of elite sports, every single athlete is constantly on the hunt for that tiny edge, that little something that can push them past the competition. They're always looking for that extra 1%. But what if that next big breakthrough isn't some newfangled supplement or a punishing training regimen? What if the secret weapon was just breathing? But, breathing in a very specific way. That's the incredible promise behind a treatment that's getting a ton of buzz lately: hyperbaric oxygen therapy.
All right, so let's get right into it. First things first, we need to understand what all the hype is about. Why are so many top-tier athletes flocking to these pressurized chambers?
So, what exactly is hyperbaric oxygen therapy, or HBOT for short? Well, at its core, it's actually a pretty simple concept. You climb into a special chamber, the pressure gets cranked up to at least 1.4 times higher than normal, and you just breathe. But you're not breathing normal air. You're breathing 100% pure oxygen.
And you can see why athletes are all over this, right? It's totally approved by the World Anti-Doping Agency, and the promise is huge. Flood your body with oxygen to recover faster and perform better. But here's the million-dollar question we're going to unpack today. Is this the real deal, a true scientific breakthrough, or is it just a super expensive placebo? To figure that out, we've got to look under the hood and see what's actually happening inside the body. Let's get into the science of what oxygen does when it's put under pressure. Okay, so check this out. Normally, your red blood cells act like little delivery trucks for oxygen, and most of the time, they're already packed to the gills, almost 100% full. There's just not much more they can carry. But inside that hyperbaric chamber, something wild happens. That intense pressure literally forces oxygen to dissolve directly into your blood plasma. That's the liquid part of your blood. So think of it this way. If your red blood cells are a fleet of trucks that are already full, HBOT is like adding a massive swarm of tiny, super fast motorcycles that can zip oxygen down every little side street and alleyway, flooding your tissues like never before.
So the theory sounds solid, right? More oxygen means faster recovery. Makes perfect sense. But when scientists actually put this idea to the test, what they found was, well, it was not what anyone expected.
This is the classic scenario, isn't it? An athlete thinks, I'll just pop into the chamber for a quick session before my big race, or right after a killer workout. They're hoping for that immediate edge or a lightning-fast recovery. So the big question is, does it actually work? To get a real answer, researchers in 2021 did something huge. They ran a massive systematic review and meta-analysis. Now, if you're not familiar, that's basically the scientific heavyweight championship. They pull together all the best, highest quality studies on one topic to find the definitive truth. And after all that work, the result they found was a big fat zero. Nothing. Yep, you heard that right. When they crunched all the numbers from all those studies, they found that a single session of HBOT, either before or after exercise, had no statistically significant effect on performance or recovery. None. It was no better than just breathing regular air. I mean, the study's conclusion couldn't have been more blunt. They stated, and I'm quoting here, hyperbaric oxygen therapy before or after exercise had no significant effect on performance and recovery. For anyone who believed this was a quick fix, this was a massive, massive plot twist. But hold on, is that the end of the story? Is HBOT just a bust? Well, not so fast. Because what if the problem wasn't the therapy itself, but the way everyone was using it? So, a different group of scientists started asking a totally different question. They thought, okay, forget the one-time boost. What if HBOT could be used as a long-term training tool to actually change an athlete's body on a deep cellular level? And that thinking led to a game-changing study in 2022. This was the real deal, a randomized, placebo-controlled trial, the gold standard of research, and they focused on healthy, master athletes between the ages of 40 and 50. And the way they did this was completely different. We are not talking about one quick session. This was a serious commitment. We're talking 40 daily sessions, 5 days a week for 8 solid weeks at a pretty high pressure of 2 atmospheres. And super importantly, they had a control group that went through a fake procedure, so nobody, not even the participants, knew who was getting the real thing. And the results? Honestly, they were kind of mind-blowing. The group that did the full 40-session protocol saw significant increases across the board. Their VO2 Max, which is basically the top speed of your body's engine, went up. Their anaerobic threshold went up. Their max power output went up. These weren't just feelings. These were hard, measurable improvements. So the big question is, how? What was actually changing inside their bodies to cause this? Well, to find out, the researchers took a look deep inside the muscle itself.
And this is where it gets really cool. You can literally see the difference. That bright green that's lighting up the screen, those are the mitochondria. They're the tiny power plants inside your cells that produce energy. After 40 sessions, the HBOT group saw their mitochondrial mass increase by a staggering 17.12%. So, let this sink in. This wasn't just about getting a little extra oxygen for a short time. The repeated sessions sent a powerful signal to the body, telling it to physically build more power plants. It was a full-on biological renovation of the muscle's engine. All right, so the long-term plan works wonders, but before you run out and sign up for 40 sessions, we absolutely need to talk about safety, because this is really important. Look, HBOT is a serious medical treatment, and it is definitely not for everybody. There is one absolute non-negotiable no-go: an untreated collapsed lung or pneumothorax. The pressure changes could be extremely dangerous. Then you've got this whole list of other conditions where you have to talk to your doctor first. Things like asthma, having a pacemaker, a history of seizures, certain medications, or even just having trouble clearing your ears. Okay, so after sifting through all the science, what's the final verdict? Is hyperbaric oxygen therapy really an athlete's secret weapon? Here's the bottom line. It really all comes down to how you think about it. Are you looking for a quick fix, a magic bullet to use right before a big race? The science is pretty clear. It's probably not going to help much. But if you reframe it as a long-term training tool, a way to trigger deep, meaningful biological changes, then yeah, the evidence is compelling. It seems it can genuinely upgrade your body's engine by building more cellular power plants. So it's not a magic bullet, it's a tool for adaptation. And that really leaves us with a bigger question, doesn't it? In this relentless chase for peak performance, maybe the future isn't about finding the next quick hack or shortcut. Maybe it's about committing to the long, patient process of creating real, deep, cellular change.